Hey everyone, and welcome to this video. We are going to be talking about lessons, okay? Because one of the most powerful things as a coach or a mentor that you can do is help shift somebody's mindset, right? Is help shift their mindset. And so what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is if somebody believes, that's just in my world, in the business world, right? If somebody believes that they need permission from their spouse to be successful, then they are going to act out of needing permission for their spouse, from their spouse to be successful. Now, if I can tell a story or give them some type of advice or analogy that's going to help shift their mindset on that, right? Where they're like, oh, actually, if I'm waiting for my spouse to give me permission, I'm giving my power in my business away, and my spouse can never make my business successful. Now they're going to act from a place of I am in control, right? I have all the power of what I create in my life and in my business. And now their action steps are going to be massively different, right? And so shifting a customer's mindset is a really big deal because one, if somebody doesn't believe it's possible or that it's possible for them, they can't buy from you. Remember that. They can't, like, their logical brain will not let them purchase something from you if they don't see value in it, right? They're just not going to. So that's really important. But two, it's really important because I guarantee that every single person watching this video right now will remember the first time somebody introduced personal development to them and they got an aha, right? Like the first thing I learned in personal development, you guys, was body language. And so forever, I love body language. And every time I see somebody do certain things with their body, like move certain eyes, do something with their hands, that touch their head, touch their eyes, their nose, their mouth, right? Like I'm excited because I know-ish what their subconscious is trying to say. I know what their body is trying to communicate, right? And I'll never forget the person who gave me those ahas. I'll never forget it, right? And so when you shift somebody's mindset, you are sinking yourself into their life permanently, which is a beautiful thing if you want them to hire you, right? Because if you're helping them and it was so impactful for all of you that are like, I want to make an impact and I want to make income, right? So important. Every business should make income, but it also should have an impact. And the best way to have an impact is to help somebody have a major breakthrough, have an aha, experience something without having to experience something, right? This is where you can learn a lesson from me without going hardcore, scrape your freaking face on the floor, right? My business partnership failures, some of you are going to learn from my stories, right? And others of you are going to be like, I don't know, I'm going to try it. And you might, and like I did this for 1.5 years, right? And you might go for 3 months and go, you know what? I remember Elisa talked about this. I don't want to have to experience everything that she experienced. So I'm going to go ahead and take the advice now, right? Some of us still like to get hit in the face a little bit. That's me. I like to take advice. I don't take advice until I know I need to, right? I get it. Sometimes we can have these things. But the reality is the moment that happens, I'm like, oh, what did so-and-so say about this? Oh, how would they have responded? Okay, great. And I'm thinking about them even though they're not in the room, okay? So this is going to be super simple. This is just a simple worksheet. You're going to have 5 lessons that you're going to map out, okay? So what does this look like? You can do this over the next few days, right? I would take a few days to do this unless you know automatically. And so if you could ask yourself, what are the biggest lessons I've learned in business, right? And then you can list all 5 of them, or not even just in business, sorry. If you're a fitness coach, what are the biggest lessons I've learned in fitness? So in your industry, for me, that is business, right? So I would say, okay, what are some of the biggest lessons that I learned having a business? Right? As an entrepreneur. So you decide, but basically take your industry and ask yourself, what are the top 5 lessons that I have learned? And an easy way to do this is to imagine somebody sitting across from you. Let's say you are a fitness coach and somebody's sitting across from you and you are like so far into your journey. You feel so amazing. You love your body. You feel healthy, right? You're eating food that feels yummy to you and you're just loving your life. And this person sits across from you and they go, oh my gosh, where do I start? How do I love my body, become super fit, want to put nutrients in my body? How do I do that? Where do I even start? And you're probably going to go, oh, well, here's some things that I've learned. 1, you got to do this. Okay. 2, you got to do this, right? So you decide how you come up with these lessons. You can imagine someone sitting across from you. You can just jot them down if you already know them, right? I love to look back at my journal prompts because when I journal, and I journal every day, so when I journal, I always come to a conclusion at the end of my journal. I always come to an aha or like just some type of, essentially a win, right? Some mindset shift that happens, okay? And when I do that, I write it down. So if you don't have anything on this paper, okay, just start paying attention throughout your day. What's a lesson I could share? What's a lesson I could share, right? And then write it down. So the goal is to have, and actually the assignment is to get 5 lessons. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna write the lesson first. So this is what it looks like. It says lesson, let's see, what inspired this aha, and then past or current stories that sink that lesson in. So I'm going to give you an example on number 1. So lesson number 1 that I wrote down was mistakes are what make people great. Okay, mistakes are what make people great, okay? Specifically entrepreneurs. So mistakes are what make entrepreneurs great. Second question, what inspired this aha? Well, I'll tell you, last week I was mapping out my wins and my failures, and I realized that my failures were actually more important to me or to my success. They contributed more to my success than my wins. And that was crazy because I was like, oh yeah, I've had this failure and then we never made that mistake again, right? And then we had this failure and we didn't make that mistake again. So what inspired this aha? Well, I was mapping out my wins and my failures, okay? And then it clicked, right? Because that's what lessons do. Something happens and then all of a sudden we're like, boom, I got it. Don't ever do that again, right? Okay, so there's that. Or continue to do it because it worked, whatever the lesson is, okay? So there's that. And then the third question is past or current stories that sink this lesson in. Well, your brain can create evidence for anything. You could ask yourself right now, how am I a loser? And your brain is going to create evidence. It's going to say, well, remember that one time and that other time and then this time. You could ask yourself, how am I a winner? And your brain's going to go, here's an answer. Oh, remember that thing that you did last week? Oh yeah, this thing that you did today, crushed it, right? And your brain's gonna create evidence. So your brain is amazing at creating evidence. So all you're gonna do for this question is say, okay, brain, past or current stories that prove that this is true, right? That will sink this lesson in if I share it with somebody else, right? And so for me, the first one that came up was our third event, you guys. So remember, the lesson is mistakes are what make people great, okay? So the more that I fail, the more I will win, yes? Okay, the story that I would tell and that I would share then is our third event. So our third event with FEE, our first event, we did good. We did way better than we thought we were gonna do. It was super awesome. Second event comes, I personally dreaded our second event, everything about it. I didn't love. I didn't love the space that we were in. I didn't the speakers were good, but they just weren't my favorite. And it just felt very small compared to our first event. I didn't like that. I didn't like going backwards. But then we got to our third event. And our third event took the combination of both energies. Our third event was yes, we're as big, it's as shiny and beautiful, and we have all this audience, a bigger audience than our second event, and everything about it seemed so awesome. We had these amazing speakers, probably some of the best speakers that we had combined of the 3 events, right, at this one event. And I remember at that event, we were so in love with the feeling. In other words, I was so happy to not have this be a repeat of event 2, which, by the way, we made money at event 1 and event 2, right? We signed people into our high level mastermind at both of these events. Get to level 3 and I'm like, oh my gosh, this doesn't feel like level 2. So automatically I thought in my brain, because it feels better to me, we're gonna make more money. We're gonna make money because it feels better. So then what I did in my head was well, I guess we don't really have to sell that because it's just gonna happen. It's just gonna happen because I feel good. So of course everybody in the audience is gonna feel good and we're gonna just make a lot of money, right? And so the event goes on, we don't sell anything, the event's happening, we're not selling anything, the event's happening, we're not opening doors for people to work with us, we're not saying, hey, let us know if you wanna be part of our community. We don't really even talk about it, right? And then at the very, very end of the event, I'm standing there looking at my business partner and we're like, well, we haven't closed any sales yet. This isn't normal. What happened? And then we're like, oh shit, we gotta sell, right? And so we're thinking, okay, how do we sell? Well, at this point, we let speakers sell from our stage all the time, right? Which we still do let speakers sell if we think they have something good to offer. But at this point, we were like, okay, cool. Well, we've just been focused on the event energy. We're just gonna pull all this energy in, right? And our very last speaker gets up on stage and she sells, right? And don't get me wrong, she was amazing in her own. The audience, there were some people who just really resonated with her, and that's beautiful. I don't have an issue with speakers making money because That's why they're there. They want to speak to have an impact, make an impact, and make an income, right? So they're finding their perfect clients, and I get that, but we hadn't offered. So we spent 2 days working on this audience, making them feel so loved and connected, and you're an entrepreneur, and anything is possible for you, and you can do this, and like working through their beliefs and their breaking and brainstorming. We did workshops, you guys, like we mapped out their marketing plans. Like we went through everything with them, right? They were like, I am ready to finally be the entrepreneur that I know I can be. And you know what happened? We didn't sell. The last speaker gets on stage, offers something, closes $30,000 in that moment, just like that. Now, I'm not mad that it happened. That's great, because then it says, hey, speakers, if you want to come to our stage, we have a great audience. It's also proof that I know my audience wants to spend money because they all want their problem solved, right? And the easiest way to solve a problem is to find somebody who's done it before. Find a product or a service or a tool that helps you fix the problem, right? So she closes $30,000 in sales. Me and my business partner are like, well, shit, now we're kind of in our heads. Like, maybe we're not good enough. Maybe we suck. Maybe, you know? And we're like, okay, well, how are we going to recover from this? Like, good news is we're smart. We make money before the event, during the event, and after the event. So we were like, well, shit, we shot the middle of it, right? We're not making money at the event because the event's over. We're cleaning up all the tables, the tablecloths. We're wrapping everything up. My team is coming to me, and like my husband's coming to me, and they're like, okay, how much money did you guys make? How much money did you guys make? And we're like, nothing. Yeah, it's great. You know, nothing. We had some people come up to us and say, hey, I want to be part of whatever you're doing. Can I help you? Can I serve you? Maybe we can do it for trade. Like, you don't have to pay me. I just want to be part of your community. How can I volunteer for you? And what can you help me with? Because they loved the feeling of being in the same room with our audience. They loved the feeling that when we got together with the people that we attract, which by the way are badass women, right? When we got together with them, they were excited. They wanted to stay in that room. They felt like they were unstoppable. So they did want to be in our space. And they knew we could help them. They just didn't know how, because we didn't sell. We didn't tell them how we could help them. We didn't do anything, right? And so that event, even though it felt so good, and every single person in our audience was like, oh my gosh, this was the best event I've ever been to. Like, you guys are changing the event industry. Like, we were changing so much, and we prepped an entire audience to be motivated to step into who they freaking really are. And then we watched somebody else close them. And it's not a bad thing, once again, but had we offered, some people would have chose to go with us, and some people would have chose to go in her space, and some people would have chose to go in both. But the reality was, what I saw is, she offered, she made money. We didn't offer, we didn't make money. She had great energy, people aligned with her. We had great energy, people aligned with us. Why did we make money? Because we didn't offer, okay? So that was a really big lesson that we learned. The cool news is we've had, 20-something plus events since then, and we've offered in every single one. Different ways. Sometimes it's from stage, sometimes it's not. But the reality is we offer at every single event. We never leave somebody at the edge of a cliff ready to jump off without giving them a freaking parachute or a way down, okay? So that was a huge freaking lesson that I learned in business, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to take that, right? You're going to take all this yumminess. You're going to take your 5 lessons that you did, right? That you learned. You're going to map out when you had that aha, and then you're going to think of a story or evidence in your lifetime, right? That you could share with somebody, whether it's on a Facebook Live, in a one-on-one conversation at an event, or on a sales call, whatever it might be, right? And you're going to help shift their mindset, because entrepreneurs, you know what they hate? Making mistakes. But the reality is, when you tell them this story and you say, you know what, it's crazy that you feel that way, because the mistakes are what make people rich. The mistakes are what make you freaking smart. The mistakes are the reason I'm a smart business owner. Do I do a lot of stuff right? Yes. But I'm willing to make the mistakes that will teach me the lesson that puts me ahead of every single person trying to become a really awesome coach, or every single person that's trying to host really amazing events or do online courses, and they're not willing to make mistakes. That's why I win. Because I'm willing to make mistakes. But I see that mistakes are actually the key to success, right? And so share with your audience, you guys, when you help shift their mindset, they're a little bit more willing to move. They have the ahas that you want them to have without taking 5 years of dragging their butt through the mud to make the mistakes, right? And some people will do that, and that's okay. So homework, fill this worksheet out, put it in your binder, your personal binder. Cool? Okay, let's go to the next one. I love you.